First of all, Eric Schmidt and Jeff Landry, the attorneys general, respectively, of Missouri and Louisiana, have been working on trying to unpack what obviously has been something that Elon Musk has kind of stolen everybody's thunder about, which is, did the United States federal government collude with big tech to suppress voices like ours?
Target.
Kim, do you feel like you were targeted? Do you feel like you were profiled? Do you feel like you were somehow?
We didn't even.
I don't know. Here's the cool thing. So Eric and Jeff, as many of you know, are in the process of suing the Biden administration and a number of the actors in the whole COVID theater. And just a few hours ago, Jeff Landry's office released the transcript of Anthony Fauci's testimony under oath. And I would just encourage you to all realize that when you testify under oath as a United States federal employee,
tell the truth.
There is that little piece of telling the truth.
Truth.
Just I swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth. So help me God, all that kind of good stuff. Sworn in.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently he can't get as far as 17 pages into his deposition before he starts lying.
His nose grows.
And nice Pinocchio reference there, Kim. That's good.
It does look like
we do have a Pinocchio reference. And I thought that maybe it would be helpful because neither Jeff Landry nor Eric Schmidt, nor as we're going through the list, Rand Paul or Ron Johnson or any of the other people who happened to be allegedly looking into the crimes that led to the whole COVID craziness. For some reason, Kim, they keep letting Anthony Fauci dodge a bullet. And since they let him dodge the bullet, I thought maybe it'd be a good idea if I went ahead and loaded the chamber and shot the bullet,
again.
So let's start with Anthony Fauci, shall we? Let's start with his amazing testimony deposition under oath that has just been released. And here you have it on your screen. And the line of questioning that's being done by, in this case, the attorneys general side says they're going through this whole thing about what gain of function research is and so forth and so on. And what they ask is, when was the terminology gain of function done away with? And we really need to focus in on what transpires here. And this is Anthony Fauci doing his very best to grossly mislead the public. And let's just have a look at what he says here. When was the terminology gain of function done away with? And here's Anthony Fauci's response. At the time, I believe, and I'm not 100% sure, but there was a period of time between, I think, 2011 and 2014, or 2012 and 14, I'm not sure, when there was a pause that was put on the research that was related to the manipulation of influenza virus in order to get more concrete and definitive guidelines about what the guardrails of this research should be. Question from the AGs. Do those guardrails include things like level of biosafety level at which such research should be done? Answer, Anthony Fauci, that I believe was part of it. I'm not sure if it was explicitly said, but it certainly could be. There were two elements of it. There was the pause, which any research that could potentially have any collateral dangerous aspects to it were put on pause. And then a number of organizations outside the NIH, including the Office of Science and Technology Policy, OSTP, the Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine, and a number of working groups on the outside developed more clarity to the kinds of oversight that would be needed, that is referred to as P3CO, or Pandemic Potential Pathogens Care and Oversight. Now, the reason why I'm showing you this particular slide is to point out that Anthony Fauci lied in his deposition. And I don't mean lied like misled, I mean outright lied. And so I thought maybe what we should do, since obviously no AG, unfortunately, and no Congress person or no senator has had the ability to somehow or another find what happens if you, are you ready for this? Follow the money. Why don't we let Anthony Fauci recall his own document, shall we?
Yeah.
Now, Kim, I'm not really good at reading, apparently, because obviously all of these very smart people in the world cannot read what's in the screen in front of you. But Could you just start off by reading what it says at the very top right-hand side of this particular page?
The National Institutes of Health, National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases.
So would we agree that that letterhead seems to imply
NIH.
that came from NIAID,
Mm.
National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease? Does that,
Yep.
that sound right? Now, Kim, I know this is cunning. It's going to take a lot of effort here, but could you read the middle of the page? Exactly the middle of the
October
page.
21, 2014.
Yeah, so that would be a date.
Mm.
And you'll recall that in Anthony Fauci's sworn deposition, he goes, I don't really recall, but somewhere between 2011 and 2014, and I don't recall, maybe it was 12 to 14, there was a pause in gain of function research, and that's when we stopped using the terminology. So that would really help us if we would then understand the first sentence in the letter to University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Could you go ahead and read that sentence? Because maybe I've misread it. Maybe I'm reading something that's not on the page. Could you read that first sentence?
NIAID has determined that the above reference grant may include gain of function research.
Now remember that Anthony Fauci said that between 2011 and 2014, he doesn't recall when, but gain of function research kind of fell out of favor. There wasn't really any focus, and we stopped using that term somewhere in 2011 or 12 or something like that. Now, we stopped using it then, but Kim, what do you see on this page?
I see that it's
It's
absolutely
called gain of function, isn't it?
There's no
It's
kind
called gain of function. And remember that he
discrepancy.
talked about influenza virus. That's what they were working on. It was all about influenza virus, which Kim is going to make the project title where we're going to go to next. Because why don't we actually read the project title, which ironically is not the influenza study that he made reference to. Could you?
Project 1.
Yeah, could you go ahead and read that?
Role of uncharacterized genes in high pathogenic human coronavirus infection. Ralph Barrick, project leader.
Maybe the reason why people think that there are conspiracies is because federal agents of the United States government call a criminal behavior, which is the biological weaponization of coronavirus, they call it an oops, we're just trying to figure out the edges of science. And then they make things worse by actually saying that they were working on a flu virus. Now, Kim, I'm looking at Project One right now, and I'm somehow missing something.
What are you missing?
Landry and Schmidt and all of the legal resources of the Attorney General's offices in Louisiana and Missouri were incapable of reading this page.
Document. Yep.
I
Black
went
and
through
white.
all of the 400 plus pages of the deposition, Kim. Guess what they never referenced?
None of that.
Once again, just like Rand Paul has done every single time, the illusion of justice is being done, and the people who are the arbiters of justice are leaving the evidence on the bench and not pointing out that, can you read for me? Okay, remember, this is coronavirus, and this is highly pathogenic human coronavirus. This is not bat coronavirus. This is not animal coronavirus. This is human, highly pathogenic human coronavirus infection. Would you, by the way, read the specific aim number 3, which is unambiguous, and it says, Kim, let's make sure we get it. High pathogenic human coronavirus infection, and then read me what specific aim 3 says.
Novel functions in virus pathogenesis in vivo.
What does that
Yeah,
mean?
what's
What
vivo?
does the Latin in vivo mean? Well, that means in a living system, which means that on
Testing.
October 21st, 2014, Anthony Fauci and NIAID knew that they were engaged in activity in violation of, you ready for this? In violation of the gain of function moratorium. Anthony Fauci and Ralph Barrick actually specifically violated the gain of function moratorium, specifically lied to the American people, and then, to make matters worse, Eric Schmidt and Jeff Landry allowed Fauci to lie in his deposition, and not once did they ever call him out
Still
on the
haven't
evidence of his lie, which they have had,
for a long
and
time.
they have not done a thing to hold him accountable. Now, I'm supposed to be allegedly conspiratorial in my thinking.
Yeah, but there's facts, so I can go out the window. I'm tired of that.
Isn't that amazing? I just
Tired of
find
it.
the whole thing so sad
Turn
that
the other way. They're
even the
conspirators.
people
We're the truth
who
tellers.
are supposed to be doing the investigation.
Mm.
And by the way, Eric Schmidt and Jeff Landry are doing the best that they know how to do. But Eric Schmidt and Jeff Landry have the Fauci dossier because a lot of you sent it to them.
Yep.
A lot of you were willing to go out on a limb and say, hey, guys, there's a crime being committed. Look into it. And not Eric Schmidt, not Jeff Landry, not Rand Paul, not Ron Johnson. Not one of them is willing to actually show the evidence to the American people that Anthony Fauci lied under oath to 2 state attorney generals. And courtesy of Department of Justice lawyer Kirshner, who, by the way, objected to almost every question that the guys had to ask, and led to this amazing, wonderful conversation that kept leading Anthony Fauci not to recall his own letter on his own letterhead,
They
right?
should've just held it up to him. What about this one?
Yeah, not
No.
once. Not once. Never once did that piece of evidence ever get put in front of him. And I have to ask myself the question. He's lied to Congress. He's now lied under oath to 2 attorneys general. When are we going to have an AG anywhere in this country? When are we going to have an agency of the Department of Justice? When are we going to have anybody in social media or any other place in mainstream media? When are any of the mainstream commentators, and by that I'm including the alt narrative mainstream commentators, where's Tucker Carlson on this? Where is any of the alternative narrative media on this? Not one of them will put this piece of data in front of Anthony Fauci. And it is the evidence that he's lied to Congress. It's the evidence he's lied in deposition. And to this day, including the published deposition from from Jeff Landry's office, which was published just a few hours ago, not one of them has ever dropped the smoking gun, which said pathogenic human coronavirus being manipulated by UNC Chapel Hill. Not one of them has had the courage to have that conversation.
Well, I'm glad we were able to let you all know.
Now you've seen it. It's black and white. It's not an allegation that I'm making. It's not an anything that I'm making. It's actually the evidence. And the evidence needs to be shared once again by you. So make sure you share. Now,